we got multiverse.
Hey.
We're back, baby. We're back.
Multiverse. Look at him. He's on the other side.
Multiverse now, baby, but we're still here.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing I've ever done in my life.
You gotta
Hey,
defeat that dude.
What did I do? I just time slipped for those who watch Loki, so we're good. We're good. But,
We're back.
we're back, baby. But welcome to another episode of Carbonite Bounty BS with me and the nerds. How's everyone doing?
Excellent.
I mean, it's been a couple of weeks, so definitely been a fun time. But before we even get going, let's let DP do some house cleaning and let you guys know where to find us at.
All right, nerdcyclopedia.com. People, check out your favorite website and get all your favorite social media platforms that we are on at Twitter, or is it X? It's X, formerly known as Twitter, as they say on email all the time. You know, whatever you guys want to call it. You know, even, I'm sure Elon Musk, you know, even though he goes through his little trials and tribulations and everything, and his wanting to sue everybody. Anyway, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we're at Nerdcyclopedia, basically. All right. If you want to listen to us on podcasts, we're on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Play, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, we're there. I even think we're on Odyssey now, so I got to make sure that went through. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and also hit that notification button, so anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, thank you as well. Make sure that you join our Facebook group, Carbonite Bounty BS, the Star Wars group, where you get everything, you know, Star Wars related, all the conversation that we have based on Star Wars. Leave us some feedback too. Nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com. We love getting all your feedback and giving it right back to you.
Oh, great stuff, man. Great stuff. And, you know, it's been a little bit of time since we've been on. You know, me and DP have done a couple of Marvel shows, so that's been kind of cool to get everybody kind of up to speed with Nerdcyclopedia and all the stuff we do on our other stuff. So, shameless plug, but yeah, you know, for those who haven't seen it already, please check out our Nerd Psycho Comic Flick Show. Talk about a ton of things.
Nerds, the NCFS. We will be back in a couple weeks talking about Aquaman, and so anybody feel free to join us. You know, we'll be talking about Aquaman in a couple weeks.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, great to be back. A lot of stuff, you know, we've talked about kind of me and DP off air. So as far as today, we're doing a special, we'll call it BS hour with today's episode, right? So kind of, you know, hitting the floor and just going around, kind of round robin about some topics we discussed. But we'll lead off with the first topic that I think is just due before we get into, obviously, Ken's fun this past week. But DP, I'll lead this off with you. Don't you find it kind of ironic how we discussed that some smear campaign was coming out against Dave Filoni the last couple of weeks, right? Fire the guy, his projects are shit, like, we don't want him to do anymore, bring in this guy. And then magically, like 3 days later, we get this announcement, right? That's kind of like ironic, you know, that kind of came out at that time. What are your thoughts? I mean, congratulations to Dave being named the creative director, but kind of funny, right? How that all started. Now magically, he's like essentially the head of.
He's the creative director now. You know, the chief creative officer, CCO, or whatever. You know, of Lucasfilm. So yeah, we put it out in the ether and everything, and you know, of course, you know, we influence everything that Disney does on here on Carbonite Bounty, because we are the master influencers. See, there we go. You know, we always Disney. Hey, where's that cheddar, Disney? So yeah, Dave Filoni is now the chief creative officer of Lucasfilm. So congratulations to him. I'm happy for him. It actually may be a way. It may be a reason why this happened. So Kathleen Kennedy can like deflect a lot of the criticisms towards Star Wars towards this guy now. So let's put him. So hey, if you gotta blame anything Star Wars, let's blame it on Dave. You know, but no, seriously, I think it's a great move for the company and everything. To have a one, you know, have it put it in some sort of direction, and hopefully he can bring in some creatives that can do like the stuff that he does, do the stuff that Tony Gilroy does, just bring in some fresh ideas and everything to keep this universe going.
Yeah, when I heard that, I felt that was the right decision. I mean, I think this guy has the passion for this franchise. I think he understands it. He's in the right age bracket to sort of, he grew up with it. I'm sure
one of us.
One of us. He knows where it started, and he knows where George had kind of left it go. And I think he also saw some mistakes that were made, and that's why he's making a very good effort to correct things. And I don't know, why is everyone so down? And I'll just have to say, and I'm sure people are going to say, bash me, but Kathleen Kennedy has been around a lot longer than just her little stunt here with Disney. I mean, she's been a part of things. She's been at the beginning of the Raiders series, the Raiders of the Lost Ark series. She was there. She executive produced those movies, that franchise. She worked very closely with Spielberg. She was also a part of the Goonies, which is some classic storytelling. So I think everyone should stop and check themselves before they start to really cut this individual down, because she's been around for some of the biggest blockbuster storytelling franchises in history, and all of movies and everything. So she has a very good, solid background in marketing, and she understands how something needs to look on the big screen. I mean, she's done it. So I don't feel that she's really done anything wrong where in her particular position. Interesting thought, Sam, though, DP, what you said, that maybe she wanted to give DP. Star Wars universe somewhere to direct negative press, but I don't feel like she's wronged anything that she's had her hands into.
Hey Ken, the rebuttal that the credit ran out the credits ran out a long time ago with her. I mean, we're like for I don't even know how many movies. Like really, we talk about the whole Marvel effect and how I feel that Feige has more credit in the bank, so to speak. Like this has been a colossal failure with Star Wars. I would say pre-Disney, but Disney's going to get the flack for it. But I mean, come on, man. The fandom has been split well before this, and she's the head of the snake. Now, granted, some of the criticism, and you're right, is probably unwarranted towards her. But at the end of the day, you're the head of the snake. This is what you signed up for.
To be fair, it's only been 3 movies that really have happened since
3.
She became full on and everything. That's The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and then the Rise
of Skywalker.
And also, to be fair, The Last Jedi is a polarizing movie, so it's either you like it or love it, or you hate it,
I gotta talk to somebody who loves it.
As far as that particular movie stuff.
I gotta find that. I gotta find the person who loves it.
I've heard a lot of people who love that movie, it was just something different and everything. I can't speak on it. And I actually probably have to watch it probably for my 4th time just to really, get it. But I know it's universally hate. The Rise of Skywalker is universally sort of hated by fandom, because they couldn't choose the direction they wanted to go. They tried to go back to clean up some stuff, and that just wasn't wasn't
derailed. It was derailed before it even came out.
It was derailed. Yeah, something like that. So with Kevin Feige's thing, he has so many movies up under his belt. To be fair, with Kathleen Kennedy, I think it's been more of the Disney Plus projects and everything that's sort of okay, well, you're doing this here. Some things aren't working here. Some things, work there and everything. It's not that consistency that they want. It's not enough movies to me for Kathleen Kennedy, to Ken's point, to really blame a lot on her. But I know the fans have just been on her.
Ken's giving her credit for shit that she doesn't even qualify for. We're going back to the Goonies and stuff. Come on, man. That's not even
that was in the beginning of her career. That was where she
wow.
stepped off from. And if you look back, I mean, she's got talent in a lot of different areas. I just
Ken's
don't
trying to get
think
in Star Wars
one
Celebrations.
person that
I
you
get
can
it.
blame for the problems that the Star Wars Titanic ship had.
It's a big Titanic.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
well,
So that means this Disney debacle is not on Bob Iger, right? Because he's the head of the snake. Because if you hear everybody, this is Bob Iger's fault. It's the same with Kathleen Kennedy. You got to take. I mean, you're the captain. You're going down with the ship. Unfortunately,
Iger is the head. You know,
and you know what? From someone, I just got back from Disney, and I'll tell you what, that place is like put together well and runs very, very, very well. And operationally, all those parks,
it's this guy.
Whoever's running
he needs a presidency
the right
logo
thing.
under his name. Ken's going for presidency, bro.
I know that he's just so political with Disney, and I appreciate
he is
because that we have to do that, or else we don't need the crackdowns. And so I appreciate someone willing being willing to toe the company line. But let's be frank. It's hard to judge financial success in entertainment media now because we don't really understand the paradigm. That's the truth. Since the pandemic, box office doesn't mean as much. I mean, look at Elemental. They're saying it's a hit now because of the numbers it's doing streaming. And it was just a super bomb last summer. And this is a weird situation. I mean, I think I was reading an article that said the Avatar 2 was the 7th highest grossing movie of 2023. So it made all that money in 2022, and it still was the 7th highest grossing movie in 2023. So receipts are down across the board. It's hard to evaluate, things in the terms of success or financials. And I think that's a big thing that's going on with Disney is they're having to reevaluate their revenue model. Like, where's the money coming from?
To be fair with the Elemental thing, you mentioned that, and I was paying attention to that too. On Steel City, that movie, I think it came out well under what they expected it when it first debuted. But granted, it's a children's movie, and children's movies tend to have a lot of legs.
Yeah.
Where
has a lower turnout.
Yes, as a lower turnout in the beginning, but actually has a lot of legs, subsequent weeks and stuff. I think with headlines, what clickbait headlines love doing, in the beginning. Okay, Disney isn't making a certain amount of things on the first week or whatever, so this must be a flop or a bomb or whatever. But the legs that it may have, 10 to 6 or 7 weeks down the line, and make up for actually end up being great, aren't really being publicized all like that and everything, because it's not really great clickbait. So I mean, I guess to ask you a question, because you mentioned it, do you think that that's a great indicator of where the narrative is?
I think that, I mean, are you saying as far as where the media consumption is, or
what indicates success? So if we're saying the success is it's got to hit that first week, then I mean it wasn't a success the first week.
Yeah,
I think the days of the big blockbuster weekend are minimal now. I think it's dying off.
I agree
what
with Ken.
Said makes sense because kids are going to want to see this film, and I watched this movie with my kids, and it was a good film, and it was a nice story. It was engaging. The animation, the visual effects were engaging, and I mean, and I think it does have legs, and I think it has opportunity with merchandising, and kids are going to watch it and stream it, and they're going to watch it again and again. Parents are going to buy the Blu-ray, and it's going to be something that's going to have a long time revenue for them.
But Phil City's point, he was saying that it's really hard to figure out what constitutes a success. How is the narrative going to be spun to get that media, the media narrative out there. Okay, this movie is something, even though we said it wasn't anything in the beginning.
Well, I think it's hard to even quantify. Box office numbers are public so that for reasons, right? They're public, and subscriber numbers are more opaque, and so is motivation for a subscription, right? So if we're saying, why am I staying with Disney Plus, and if I'm staying there for to watch the Pixar movies, for instance, right? And that's what's hooking me, then there's going to be revenue associated with that. But how do you how
How do you
else
quantify that?
how do you quantify that except for my hours of viewership and the percentages and all that other stuff? And all of that's proprietary. Like there's no way. That's all algorithmic and stuff. So
and
Yeah.
they're not supposedly tracking that, right, Steel City?
right, yeah, right.
They're not tracking your streaming
No.
Pixar
Never.
title only.
Never.
Or
Listen, they-
only Marvel, or only Star Wars, or only Rogue One after you watch anything else Star Wars. They're not tracking that.
You can go into a free AI now and get the answer to that, but you don't even need to pay one. And I'm sure Disney has at least $20 a month to do the GPT-4 upgrade on OpenAI. So I'm sure they're ponying up one way or another for at least one, maybe even just, write movie plots for them. So they're like, which movie should we update next? And I'll be like, do a Steamboat Willie. It's open source now. Anyone could do a Steamboat Willie as of January 1st. That's another thing Disney's going through, right? Is that's changing too. Now all their stuff's starting to hit the public domain.
Public domain, yeah.
Yeah.
And so their stock's down from, it was like almost $200 a share in 2021. It's down to like $100.
It's back down to 96, which is an all-time low based on their even COVID numbers. I think in COVID it was like 88 when I bought it. So,
So they're definitely facing challenges, and so I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to make arguments about popularity now. It's harder for me that really relegates us when we talk about what criteria do we have for Star Wars is, and for me, it's just the quality of the product. Like that's all. Like, did I like it or not? Because trying to say, I pull these up whenever we, you'll see these periodically, these chyrons, whenever we start talking down on, on the sequel trilogy, right? I'll just pull these up because they made a lot of money.
yeah, the money's there.
But how would you even measure like a Star Wars film now? And for me, I think, the last couple things they've put out have been pretty good, like pretty promising. When you look at Andor and Ahsoka and you think about what that's going to do for, the future of Star Wars, I think that's really promising. And I think what's interesting is to me that what's been worse is the more sure thing, like the slam dunk stuff has been a little bit less. And so like, I crack on this all the time, like making Boba Fett, like
that was kind of like
that stinks. Like they need to get, like he needs to get a new job. He needs to just wake up like Rick Sanchez and just like burn the whole thing down and leave. Like just be like, I'm done with this and just like take off. Right.
It was, I do agree. I rewatched Book of Boba Fett and I felt that they really kind of missed where as being a major Boba Fett fan, like if where I wanted that story to go is not where they went. Like I wanted him to be, I don't know, cooler.
Yeah, he's not like a badass of any level. Like he's not like there's no like him. There's not even any good like action to where like you see the old
exactly. The first fight he was in, he got beat. I mean, come on, man.
I think trying to make him like a gangster in the book was like a big miss. That. Yeah.
And he needed the Power Rangers to come and like bail him out. I'm like, what is this?
The Power Rangers to help.
Well, what about his like sharpshooter who like doesn't miss a shot and then she's like the weakest person in the world, like
and she missed. Like
right? She's like the sharpshooting like assassin and like now she can't hit the broadside of him. She's like a stormtrooper now.
Like a stormtrooper. But I did like I liked the way those characters interacted, and that's the way he would interact with like his minion, like his crew. Like I liked that element, but I felt that Boba Fett wouldn't really need anybody. Like he could take down an entire town by himself.
Boba Fett's story is like a Star Wars Dexter. Like his job is to go and hunt down the worst, sleaziest, terrible criminals that he gets hired to pay the biggest bounties because he's the most famous bounty hunter.
Yep.
And he's good. And he's really, really good. And he's super ruthless, right? None of that works in the context of running an old West town. It just doesn't make any sense. So, my thing with Star Wars is they've stopped doing stuff like that to shoehorn a character into a story to get it produced. And I think that is something that they did. And if there's anything that they've suffered for doing in the last couple of years in Star Wars, it's that. not
Mhm.
Rise of Skywalker for some reason. You would think they would suffer for that more. That was had many problems, but that seems to be what they're suffering for. And now, I think they're in a good position for Star Wars. But like tentpole movies, like all that sort of stuff. I don't know if that's like saying, well, when's your next, when's your next 8-track coming out? When's your next, when's your CD release party? Like, when are you going to be, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff is sort of obsolete. And to Ken's point, right? Like you're talking about the DVDs. Like, I mean, I have a DVD player, I have a Blu-ray player, but I had to go find it. I had to go find it and put it somewhere and hook it up so that we could watch. Like, I think what was it? Hotel Transylvania 3 with G. So, I think they're going to keep making this Star Wars stuff because they have to, and there's a lot more bad money to throw at it, even if it doesn't have a positive return. But we'll see what they do next. As far as Dave Filoni being in charge, I think you have to really put him in charge because, I mean, the most successful stuff that's come out in the last 15 years is all his, all of it. The stuff.
And that's a great point, Steel City. So, and I was just thinking, I lived through. So we all did. We lived through the Phantom Menace, and from waiting 25 years, for a new. I'm not talking about special edition and THX and this release and blah blah blah, which there were like 4 or 5 rebirths of the trilogy between 83 and 1999. So, and it was even in the film, they re-released the special edition in the theaters, which I was there, bought my ticket, an actual paper ticket, and stood in line for that ticket to make sure I saw it at midnight on that. So Phantom Menace, that came out, and I'll tell you, it was lackluster initially, right? Because
I can't imagine Ken saying that. I'm not believing that. Did you said that?
I'm just going by
believing you saying that.
I don't believe
bad. When something else is worse comes along, then the thing that was bad doesn't seem so bad anymore.
I need to meet that Ken.
I mean, my initial reaction to Phantom Menace, and I remember it very well because it was right at the end of 9th grade, and it was like we had exams and we got done at like noon, and so a bunch of guys from my class, we all went and saw it, and I remember being like, excited that it was a Star Wars movie and liking some parts of it, right? Just thinking like, what was the deal with this lizard thing? Right. And I remember sitting there and I'm like, they could have just left this guy with the guns and being like, hey, if you kill him, we're coming back. That's all they had to say. And the guy would have been like, oh, he's a Jedi. They mean, when they say stuff, they mean it. Okay, we'll leave him by. See, the
Gungans were like the Ewoks, basically, in the universe. Like from my point of view, they didn't bother me so much. What bothered me was the idea that the Jedi were sort of like not as badass as I thought they were. Because I mean, think about it. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan got their asses handed to them. We didn't really know why. We were dropped into this story that we didn't really have a background for, but we knew what Jedi were. And here are these 2 Jedi, which we knew: Obi-Wan Kenobi. Qui-Gon was a newbie. I mean, we didn't know who Qui-Gon was. And here they both got trounced by a bunch of robots. I mean, this didn't make any sense to me. And I thought, man, what's going on? What's this old republic and blah, blah, blah. And we used to hear about it in the original trilogy. They talked about it. It was like a real boring space to be in. This was not.
Yes, that was the reaction I had because I wasn't even into Star Wars, but I was on the hype train. Star Wars comes back after, I wanted to be there to see the Star Wars stuff because I'm a nerd, but I wasn't into Star Wars. But I watched this movie and it's like, this is boring, Is this Is this your master? is this
Is this where it started? Is this like the beginning?
See,
This
I can't believe Ken is saying this. I don't believe this. So you're saying so Ken now let's just paraphrase this, right? So you're telling us right now that George Lucas made a shitty movie. We want to put this on camera right now. I want to hear you say it.
Not shitty, but I think he held back. I think he held back a little bit.
Ken is a tap dancer.
And not I wouldn't say shitty.
Ken,
No, honestly, but it was just not what we expected after over 2 decades of waiting.
Can you put
new
Ken
content
24 or whatever on the bottom of this 10? Like, bro, this guy is so you're really tap dancing right now, Ken.
And it got better. So Attack of the Clones, much better film. More in the vein of what we were looking for. And then Revenge of the Sith, of course, brought it all together. And I think if you take that trilogy and sort of like
is Attack of the Clones, that was more political than the first movie, right?
It developed it more. It told you a little more of what was going on.
I think at the time that's where it really lost me. All the politics. I'm like, because I've seen Star Wars, but I said I don't remember Star Wars being this political.
Well, my first thought coming out of Phantom Menace was actually, why were all those guys Japanese? I was like, why do they all have a Japanese accent?
The Neimoidians?
Yeah, all of them.
Easily explained.
So weird.
They were neutral. They were neutral in the whole thing, and that seemed to be the best culture to sort of mimic, because they don't really take a side. They sort of wait and see who the winner is, and then they take a side.
I don't know.
My whole thing with Attack of the Clones was not the politics of Attack of the Clones. My whole thing was that they did that Obi-Wan Kenobi murder mystery theater for half a stupid movie where he's going to diners on Coruscant. I don't need to see a diner. It's just a diner. Like I see plenty of diners, right? We don't have to take time out of my Star Wars movie to go to Dex's and watch Obi-Wan get like a malt. Like I don't need that. I could watch guys get a malt right now anywhere.
That's poison dart evidence, though.
They could have been like, "Oh, come in, dude. Go on over there." I don't know. You're right. You would have to write another mechanism, right? You got me. If they just cut it out of the movie, it would not work. They would have to do something else to get to the Camino. But it was too long. They had a flow. Like, come on, the stupid waitress. None of that was necessary. And I object to it. These are my long-term grievances.
I thought that was the best part of the whole middle movie there. It was an action figure. I mean, you could buy Dex.
They got Ken. Look at him. Hasbro got him like by the balls.
The only cool thing about Dex is when they made that Jedi in that species in the Clone Wars, and that was rad. But other than that, I'm a pass.
Yeah, I think Lucas, when he went backwards, that's when it started being a little bit okay. Well, this is how we're going to start defining Star Wars. Instead of going forwards, we're going to go backwards and fill in gaps and everything. And then you get like the sequel trilogy and stuff that tried to push the narrative forward, but
didn't.
But without George. Let's try to do this. Just try to do this without George and see how we do.
Yeah, and what's unfortunate is he had all of this written already.
Yeah.
Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith was already done. Like he had it written 40, 50 years ago. It was done. So he decided to start with the end trilogy just because that was the most marketable. That's what Fox wanted. That's what they wanted. So I'm not sure where I don't know if you could say, where he went wrong or what the initial problem was, but this story was already penned. It was done. All the characters, the script, everything.
But I think he checked out at this point when we talked about it. He was having some family issues, and it was kind of like the Robert Downey Jr. thing, right? That he needed more time with And I mean, it's not like you're an actor and they can like make an accommodation for you. You're the head of the snake. Like, there's no accommodation. You just find a way to make it work. And
Yeah.
I think that because it came down to what was it, Attack of the Clones? He really wasn't even around. He was just like wrote it and kind of like, you know, it was just kind of in the background. And then by 3, he was really not doing much at all either.
They couldn't like change the lines because he wasn't around. I'd like that would be a great reason for all that crap to have been in there. So I think we're correct about all these problems with the prequel trilogy, right? And pronouncing myself correct is one of my favorite things to do, by the way. So I will keep doing that. What's pertinent about it is that Dave Filoni has spent a lot of his time with Lucasfilm taking cartoons and characterizations and expanding, what was presented to us in the prequel trilogy and sewing it all together and making the Clone Wars era and the prequel trilogy era a very interesting era of content. And it has been exceptional to watch that, which was a big surprise to me, actually, this whole podcast project, right? To get super meta. I know when we started, hey, Clone Wars is next, and I was kind of like, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, you wanted to pilot a couple episodes to see if it would even stick, and you were like, hey.
I said, let's do it, and we did the whole thing, right? And I'm glad we did, because there's a lot of, especially after like say season 2 of the Clone Wars, there's so many good stories that give a lot of background, a lot of character, a lot of and explain a lot of these holes where, hey, there had to have been some X, Y, or Z event that happened here. And I think that his ability to do that is going to come in handy, as next big thing is going to be to, configure a story that results in both the sequel trilogy. All the events of that have to still be plausible and take place. And also, he has to fix the problems with that sequel trilogy, right? So you have to fix the issue which is that all the Jedi are dead again. You have to fix that, and you have to reconcile the snip snap of anybody can be a Jedi and nobody only teens and this right? Like that's a little snippy snappy. So I know they started doing that in Ahsoka, and that was one of the big things, and we talked about that a lot with Sabine, which is is it cruel to try to teach someone the Jedi ways if they have no potential or capacity for it? Like, is it just wrong? Like, it would be wrong for me to start a Jedi Academy right now and start training Jedi under the assumption that I would be unable to produce the telepathy and telekinesis end. Even if I got them real good at running a lightsaber, right? Even if we got 10 out of 10 scary good, there's be stuff I couldn't do. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there, but Dave Filoni being named the chief creative guy makes sense, because all the stuff that he has been involved with has made all the other eras of Star Wars better while being its own good content.
Yeah, I mean, he gets a lot of credit, and I think with the Ahsoka thing, with the sort of peeing off at the end. I mean, the ending, you give your take how if it was great or good or just okay and everything. But considering how that ended and how the internet loves to complain about everything anyway, I think we can all agree that Dave Filoni gave us the biggest, like the greatest, errors of stories and everything with
for sure
the Star Wars stuff. My thing with Filoni now is we know you can fill in gaps. How is things going to move forward after the Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah,
how is that going to develop? What is Star Wars after Rise of Skywalker?
And that's my big thing, right? It's crazy.
Doesn't he have to just connect the post prequel to the middle prequel?
No, I mean, well, that's what he's doing now. But it's already confirmed. There's at least an episode 10, so that's confirmed that Daisy Ridley will be back in a Disney Plus series as well as episode 10. But like we're talking about, if he's now chief creative officer, how do all these other projects work? Like, I mean, I'll love it if we're done with these guys getting a movie and giving them a blank script and saying, here, man, let's do Star Wars. Now what we're basically saying is everything's flowing through Filoni. You just get to direct and produce, executive produce it. So if that's how we're running Star Wars moving forward, kind of like a Feige type deal, I'm all for it because like we talked about it. How do we do a sequel trilogy and 3 people had 3 different fucking scripts that didn't even line up a story at all? Like you can't do that. And then it's kind of like the last one. The reason it was a dumpster fire was it was like the multiverse of madness. Dude was going to try to shoot the movie and like right while he's shooting it. And that's Colin Trevorrow's style. Like he loves to shoot and write.
And Ken, I think that's where Kathleen Kennedy probably was getting the most heat because you want these sequels to be, you want them to be great and everything, because it's Star Wars and stuff. But there's been so many changes with the sequel trilogy with Colin Trevorrow,
different directors, different
directors and stuff.
Different
like it's been a high
writer, sure.
And then when you see what the product ends up being on the screen and it's not to everyone's satisfaction, especially that last one, it's like, wow, come on now, you derailed the ship.
But talk about you talk about Ken's credit in the bank though. If she's so great, Ken, how does she let that happen, right? How do you literally let that happen? Because this is colossal in my eyes. This is the biggest IP. You've been around, like.
What would she have done? Let's say she knew that it was going to fail. Would she stop production on it?
You fire them and you restart it. Yeah, you really were going to produce something like that. You had 3 different people. Like, so you're telling me, so George gives her the keys to the car. And she's not going to follow the script of having a linear story and it's all ready to go. Like, it's not, and then she had to sign off on it. Think about, all our careers, right? So your boss, your director, you're really going to sign off on this? Come on. It's better for them we've seen even Disney, they scrap a lot of stuff that like doesn't pass. There's a lot of Marvel projects that get scrapped that doesn't pass.
And maybe this is because of that. Maybe they are scrapping things. Like there's a lot of Marvel stuff that that was released that they should never have released. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that's like total garbage. Thor.
Yeah, Thor. I mean, it grew. Okay, the Thor got too many chances, though. It probably should have stopped after Thor: The Dark World.
That one was good. They saved it
with Ragnarok, but what other movies are going to, not to say that Thor failed twice or whatever, but Thor wasn't I don't know if it was a 3 sequel type movie after Thor: The Dark World. You probably should have stopped after that. So to have that even get another movie after, The Dark World, it was like, I don't know. But they got lucky and, with that Ragnarok ended up being good. But the point I wanted to harp on was that I think Disney got scared with the Last Jedi. After that, so they thought they were on a good roll with having Rian Johnson do the Last Jedi. Movie came out and started being really polarized, and then they got scared and skittish, so they tried to develop so many changes or whatever for the Rise of Skywalker to be perfect, which ended up being the most imperfect movie, Star Wars movie ever and everything.
It was all over the place.
Yeah, you're trying to please everyone when you just needed to stick to whatever script. And if you're going to go one way, go that way,
But you don't write all the scripts at once.
Exactly.
To say, okay, buddy, you're going to do the second movie. Here's the script for the third movie. And if the second movie does anything that screws this up, we can't make this movie that we're already making, right?
And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, right, bro? I don't even think the guys met each other. Like, right? Like, they never even, met up at the Skywalker Ranch and be like, hey, bro, this is what I'm doing. This is what you're doing. This is what I'm doing. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the Kennedy issue.
They need to have that meeting. They needed to have that meeting to sit down and be like, this is a sequel trilogy. This is what you're in charge of. That's what any leader does. So when we're talking about leadership, right? I'm not saying she's the worst person in the world, but like, god damn, man, like these are minor. This is leadership 101.
And then you bring J.J. Abrams back in to sort of clean up everything when he wasn't even involved with the second movie, So
but then they threw him
over
under the
everything
bus.
that happened in the second movie to finish this so-called trilogy off. and just try to ignore some of the events that happened in that second movie. That's just ridiculous.
Imagine if you're from the perspective of the third movie guy, you're like, all right, so okay, so our movie has that only the Skywalkers and the Palpatines are powerful, and that works with you guys, right? It doesn't,
and nobody listens, and nobody answers.
It's the opposite of that. Okay, well, that's going to be weird. All right, next. We've introduced an entirely new main character, right? That is involved with most of the action in this movie. Or how much are they in your movie, guy that's directing the third movie? Oh, not at all. They're not really. They're like in like 3 shots, and mostly it's because we feel like if we didn't do that, we'd be acquiescing to a certain segment of the population we don't want to acquiesce to. Oh, okay, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. Yeah, they established Finn and Poe Dameron, right? And we don't even see him for really like a movie and a half. There's no more development, and then we bring in Rose all of a sudden, and then
they sort of scuttle that. They're like, oops, we didn't do that one. That one was an oopsie.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's one too many. Like we can't discuss her. Like, yeah,
Right.
the Finn stuff kind of hurt, to be honest, because he led up to such a big story. There we go.
There we go.
Rose.
Like Funko Pop. But yeah, they started out this big story about developing like Finn as a person and force sensitivity and whatnot, and then they kind of throw it away. And at the end, oh yeah, by the way, he felt Rey. Like, okay, so that's it. That's it, really. This cliffhanger at the end, and that's literally the final 5 minutes of the movie.
It opens, what if to duplicate this effect, we would have to have episode 10 open up, and he's explaining it, and he's just like, no, I mean, I really felt her, like she was we were friends, you know what I mean, we were tight.
Right.
That's what he meant. That's what he meant. Not it's and I actually don't have any force at all. So moving on.
Based on Sabine, he has to be a Jedi now. I'll just say that.
I mean, has to, right? And
he has to now.
Who better to train him than Sabine in her late 40s, early 50s, right? That could be interesting. But then they all die. But you can't do that because Sabine should be dead unless she's still in the third galaxy in question mentioned in the Star Wars content.
So great. It's crazy, and since this is the BS section, we're kind of bouncing everywhere. When we just watched Ahsoka, and that was the Beyond, right? So where's Exegol? When they were there, that's what I was thinking, right? They just said they went to that place, the unknown region. So where was Exegol? There was no Palpatine links. How could that ties us all together, right? If they did a little bit more, because think about it, they had to have some crazy star map to get there, and these guys just space welled to the unknown regions.
I think for them to think about it, we left them stuck. They were stuck. They have no technology. They have no way to get off this rock. So somehow they're going to have to get into that nether region. They're going to have to get into that what the wolves help them do. We
know they're going to go between the between worlds. That's the only way to get back. There's no other way to get. There's no other way to get back. Yeah.
There's an adventure there, right? Ooh, they go to this other place, this other dimension. I think we're going to see some travel, some whatever, different planetary travel, because they somehow have to get. And I don't know how they're going to get back to the correct timeline at this point. I mean, how are they going to do it without the whales? The whales are gone. Every single first whale was murdered in the asteroid field. Murdered by Thrawn. Murdered.
Documentaries, just like the.
So, there's no help. There's no help for them. There's no direct link back to the correct universe, galaxy. So they're going to have.
But there is a way that they could tie this together. This goes to the storytelling point, right? Because at the same period, this is when they're building up Palpatine's whatever final order on Exegol. So it's not like there's not ships in this region. So maybe somebody gets to, maybe somebody stops on this planet and they hijack the ship. That would be the only way you can write it, right? That they get back, is they get one of these cruisers or something that
it would have to be something like that, like a smuggler type of thing,
or the Chiss. Why can't we find about more of them? They're in the unknown region. There's just more. Yeah, you know what I mean. There's more we can do to kind of like figure this out, so to speak.
And Thrawn, I don't think Thrawn and Palpatine are going to play nice.
No,
I don't think that that's going to be a good relationship.
But Exegol, if Exegol was always Palpatine's like real plan, then the First Order is like just like some canard that he just like
Right.
up to keep
It's smoke. It's smoke. It's
it almost won. Like it came so close to just winning outright. It's like if you're playing Risk and you send the first, like you have like you send out your first armies and you just roll sixes for like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like that one army just is like one shots the entire, like your entire opponent's army, and you have a whole horde ready to send in, and you just never have to, right? Or like if you're playing an RPG and you accidentally level up way too much before you go.
Oh, come on, no, we all done that. I've done that way too many times.
Like, you'll need your companion's help to defeat this boss, and you just go and they die. That's, like the New Republic was even weaker than Palpatine thought. So like it's almost like you can view the entire sequel trilogy as Palpatine trying to untie that knot, so that it's like not the First Order that ends up in charge, but him, and he has to like go through all this manipulation with Ben Solo to get Ben to actually kill his clone that's now like a rogue agent or something like that. Judges, that way it makes sense, but they didn't tell us that story. They told us other stories.
Yeah, we can't make up headcanon on this and everything, unfortunately.
Oh no!
Somehow Palpatine returned is
that's all we get. Somehow, this guy returns.
Somehow Palpatine has put out a new music video. Everybody's watching it. Everyone's like,
right? I mean, do you think Thrawn will play second to Palpatine?
I mean, to your point, Ken, I always thought of this guy as a character, the way he was built up. I don't see how he plays nice with any of the Empire leaders. He's just not that type. But
so we have an opportunity for a new empire, which may not be the empire that we are thinking of. I think we're looking at more of a like a bureaucratic, like really, like we're talking like red tape city, and almost civilized, because Thrawn is super conservative. I mean, he's assertive and he's very charismatic, but he's very
careful.
I mean, he's not one to just go and like murder people for no reason.
Not like Darth.
Right. He's tactful.
He makes deals. He made a deal with the Night Sisters. He made a deal with Sabine. He made a deal. Like he's like, yeah, go on. You can go out and look for Ezra. I don't really care.
So he's willing to negotiate. He's willing to negotiate. He's willing to have relationships with other beings, other planets. And I think we might be looking at a new evil. Maybe.
Well, I think, if you think about it, though, you're right, Ken, and you kind of hit the nail on the head when you discuss this part. Like, Thrawn's really not on, like, Palpatine. Like, he always dealt with Vader, so him and Palpatine never had a relationship. Keep in mind, though, like, Palpatine can't read his mind. So if we think about how they're laying Thrawn out, even with the Night Sisters, there's, like, a backstab already planned in this story. There's a backstab planned in with the Palpatine stuff. Like, I think you're right. He ultimately wants to create his own army and have his own republic, not under the rule of Vader and Palpatine, but maybe under his own. So with his kind of battle meditation, I think he's trying to find a way to kind of like take them off the chessboard and for him to be the main piece. And if they put this together, they kind of like Palpatine's off the board right now, Vader's off the board right now, as he's now back. Right? He, in his mind, he's probably thinking like, well, like, and this will be the toughest part. So how do you get rid of him, right? Like, how do you get rid of him in time for Rey to be Rey? Like, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, how do you get rid of him? And then there's just like, then because the way they'll spin it is like that was like Palpatine's play, like to buy time until he can get his body back or whatever. Like, that's how they'll try to spin it. But realistically, I don't know how they'll spin this character like him to die and literally lead up to, Rise or what was the first one? The Force Awakens.
And it's got to make sense.
Right,
it has
exactly.
to make sense, whatever they do. And Thrawn has already stabbed his relationships. I mean, he laid Morgan out to dry. I mean,
Right.
he basically just, and she could have been a good ally, but he used her up. She had a mission. She had a particular thing that he needed to get her to get, basically, Ahsoka or Sabine to get the map to him so he could get back. Once that was done,
Yeah. Morgan was just his Uber, right? That was what it was. And
yeah.
after she dropped him off, he paid the fare and said, "Fuck off."
Yep. He didn't even tip her. Didn't even.
We need a little bit more out of live action Thrawn to make him as great a formidable, evil person as we did in the animated stuff. And I think the only thing that's lacking with that is more story, more episodes or whatever. It's a lot of characters to concentrate on, and I mean, we talked about this ad nauseum, but we're BSing, this hour and everything. These stories need to be a little bit more, a little bit more than like 6 to 7, 8 episodes. Give us a good tight 12, like with the Andor show. So you can actually dig into like these characters more.
Andor was very good. You guys see that, Joe? Really good.
They suggested it every now and then after some of these episodes, but
I thought
it's a really well put together story. All the characters.
Yeah,
I've had to tell a lot of people to give it until the end of the first arc, so the end of the heist, right? Like I'm like, you have to give it that long before it really picks up. It starts slow. You don't understand who all the people are and why it's important who they are right away. You really just need to stick with it, like The Wire. Like The Wire, when you start watching The Wire, you got to make it until about the 4th episode when you're like, oh, that guy works for Avon. You're like, oh, no way. And that's what they're showing you, right? And until you know what that is, you're like, why does it matter that I showed that they showed, Rawls in the gay bar? Like that sort of stuff doesn't hit.
It's kind of like akin to okay, you watching the person lay out the puzzle pieces, but not putting everything together, So how enthralling is it to watch a person just lay out puzzle pieces? Not really exciting. But when you start putting it all together, it's like, oh, okay, I see where that piece goes and stuff. So yeah, Andor, like you said, takes a little bit, to get into. Ken, how was your trip, man?
It was awesome. It was this is the 3rd year in a row that we've gone, and this one was basically perfect. The only thing, the weather was a little off, but
that time of year.
Yeah, that time of year. My wife's birthday was the main focus for this whole thing. Her birthday was on the 15th, and we were at Magic Kingdom from I think 7 a.m. till 1 a.m. Like the whole day, just the whole day there, and it was just fantastic. Roadtron, front row, it was sick. Wish the ride was maybe like 30 seconds to 45 seconds longer.
Yeah,
that's my only beef with that ride, is that it needs to be a little bit more.
Yeah,
but I did the and because I'm a nerd and I don't know what to do with my money, I did the identity program, and this is me. This is actually me. I don't know how to tell you.
Oh man!
Just real quick. I don't know if it's going to come through on this through the camera. But
can somebody at Disney get this guy some for free, please?
I wish.
Please.
Yeah.
So,
like on time.
Oh man!
I built this.
Okay.
And designed it. I picked the helmet, the body form, and everything. And it's got a little switch on the back here.
Our guy Ken is now an NPC. Look at that.
I picked green. I don't know why, but I like the green.
He is a non-playable character. Wow, man, look at you.
And you can see can you see my face?
Oh, I do see it. Cool. Yeah, I can see your head. That's kind of wild.
You see that?
That's really neat.
Yeah, that is decent. Wow. Okay. That is decent. Wow.
Yeah. So I built this, and Disney took my money. So
that they are
whatever.
trying to do.
It came in this great box that's the actual arcade game from the 80s, which I dumped a lot of quarters into from 1979 through 81. Most of my paper route money went into this machine. So for me, that riding, jumping into this Tron universe was it was special, and riding this ride. And like my wife goes to the cast members. We were walking up to the queue. She's like, "It's my birthday. Can we get front row?" So the cast member was like, "Sure." And she repositioned a couple other guests. And we got front row on this bitch. And let me tell you, it was something else. Like, even though the ride was 58 seconds, it was legit. My favorite ride still is Guardians. Guardians of the Galaxy. Still have not gotten anything but conga. So I'm a little bit frustrated.
Come on, man. You got to ride a little bit more. That's cool.
Well,
they're not doing the holiday song this year, just to let you know. So.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'll let you know. I'll let you know Thursday, but I've heard that they're not doing the holiday the rewind mix, like the remix.
Okay. The whole trip was great. I mean, Disney just knows how to not only take your money and make it easy for them to take your money, but to make it worthwhile. Like, every penny that you spend comes back to you in the experience. And Epcot, we did the Food and Wine Festival, and we met Figment. Figment was new character. I went to Galaxy's Edge on Life Day, which is, if you know what it is, it's sort of like the Wookiee Christmas kind of celebration. And I met the big guy. I met Chewbacca. Super cool. Great experience there. My kids loved it because I had to. I got this special Life Day action figure of Chewbacca.
Okay. Kim met Chewie.
Yeah, and he wouldn't sign. He couldn't sign. He couldn't hold the Sharpie. So he wasn't signing anything, but the fireworks and the Christmas parade, and we did the party, and it was fantastic. We're planning next year's trip, so God help me.
Oh man, how long are you down there, T. Mitch?
A week. So
You're Universal now?
Well, that's where I stay. I'm not staying on Disney. I get a little bit of love here.
Okay.
Little corporate, little discount love. So you say what a discount comes in.
Yeah, we're not communists here.
Right? So I'll take advantage of discount rates. But I'll be there 3 days. Park hopping.
Yeah.
Wasting money.
Let me know if you get a different song on Guardians, because I've gotten conga 4 times. Twice in a row. Twice in a row.
I haven't got what's the One Way or Another song. That's the only one I haven't got. I forget.
Man, you must be the luckiest person on earth.
I go like 4 to 5 times a year, and I try to ride it twice each time. So, you got to do the free virtual queue, and then you just pay for the lightning lane.
Yeah, we've done the virtual queue. I've been able to get that at 7 a.m. in the mornings. Wake up, boom, boarding parties like usually in the 70s.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're like early, so by like 8:30, 9 o'clock, you're getting on.
Yeah, but man, it's just, I love the way they just have everything. And I was someone that for years I thought, man, why would anyone do that? Why would anyone go there and spend all the time and the effort? Now I got it.
You can't put a dollar amount on those memories. So
that's what makes us nerds. We know that.
Yeah,
it makes us nerds for sure.
And I got 2 Kyber crystals, so I can change. I got 2 lightsabers that I built. Well, one my son built, the other one I built. So now I can change them to red, green, yellow, or purple. So when I go back, I'm going to get the white in the blue.
Sweet stuff, man. But no, great. Glad you had a great trip. And glad we were able to come back and do like a kind of impromptu show, right? Because we usually never really BS. We usually got something that's usually scripted, so somewhat, and we have kind of an outline. But it's great just to get on here and just talk, right? And we obviously we got a little bit more of Ken's personality or true feelings today, which is always good when we do these. So maybe we have to BS a little more because it seems like we get the real Ken, not the political Ken.
Political Ken.
Political Ken.
I think I'll have to change my name, Political Ken.
Maybe like you got a little bit of Palpatine in you. Like there's, before he's Sidious, you got like the Chancellor. Chancellor Ken sounds good.
Yeah, like
Chancellor
hidden.
Ken.
Chancellor Ken, flying under the radar.
Right. But then there's me and DP with a red lightsaber, red kyber crystal. So it's,
Yeah.
No, guys, it's been another fun week. Glad to come and spend some time with everybody. And as we discussed, we'll be back next week to develop our new fan fiction story that we're working on. So we haven't forgotten about you guys, and I'm sure you guys haven't forgotten about our story. So we will be back to finalize that storyboard and kind of start discussing this story, and hopefully have that first part for you guys next week. So hope everybody enjoyed tonight. As DP ever says, please smash the like on the video if you're watching it on YouTube, Facebook. Give us a thumbs up or a like. Check us out at nerdcyclopedia.com. And if you're listening to us on podcasts, all your favorite streaming services, please give us some positive or negative feedback, with feedback in general. So until next week, guys, this is the way.
This is the way.